So the Niners finished up OTAs and minicamp. They are on summer break now. There was something that to be gained from this portion of the offseason. Historically, what do you think the utility of this time is?
Yeah, I have very strong feelings about it. Obviously, you want to see how various players perform, especially rookies, guys who quote unquote are on the bubble, all that crap. But what OTAs and minicamp are about is the beginning of team building. Football is such a team sport, and you have to have this ethos that we're all in this together. We all are responsible to each other. We all depend on each other. We're a team. And OTAs and minicamp is the beginning of building that mindset. Would you agree, Iggy?
No question about it. Absolutely. And that's exactly what the 49ers did in this minicamp and OTA session. I think what's so interesting about it is that they did it without Jimmy Garoppolo. And that was the whole point, to see if they could possibly build a team without Jimmy Garoppolo being the leader, because they've never done it. They were terrible before he got here. He came here, they won. They've never been able to win without him. And they're trying to take the leap of faith, like we can win without this guy, even though they've never done it. And I think they're a little, not scared, but there's some trepidation. And this was like the dry run. Can Trey be the leader? Will the team rally around him? Is he good enough? Will he impress the coaches, the media, everyone? And like so far, the answer was yes, 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 yes. But it's like, it's still only June. But it seems like if they were trying to base a decision on how this dry run went, it went as well as possible.
I understand. And what you're saying is, aside from the normal team building, it's team building around a new young man.
Right.
And this specifically were the first steps, and they all seem to have been successful.
Yeah, it's like, it's not just go out and play well with the first team offense, which he did, but it's be the face of the franchise. Do an interview twice a week. Be engaging with the press. Be the leader. Speak for more than just yourself. And he did all of that gladly. It was funny as last year, he barely talked. I was worried that he was going to be terrible and difficult with the press, but clearly his mindset was, I'm not the leader of this team. It's not my team. I can't just stand up here and philosophize about the team when I'm not even playing. So I think he made a decision like, I'm just going to be a regular guy and say nothing. Now he talks at length. He smiles, he laughs, he has a whole personality. And I think his attitude is, it's my team now. Well, I held back for a year. That was enough. Now Jimmy's not here. He doesn't want to be. It's not like he showed up here to watch. I'm the leader of this team and I'm going to prove it. I feel like it's kind of what Steve Young would have done if Joe Montana had been away for an OTA. He's like, all right, I got the opening. Door's open. I'm going to walk through.
Absolutely. Steve would have done that. So you admire what Trey is doing.
I absolutely admire what Trey is doing. I mean, it's not as hard as what Steve had to do. He's not replacing exactly Joe Montana, but for whatever reason, this locker room looks at Jimmy as like a friend for life. And it's a big task to replace him. And it's kind of, I think Steve could relate to it. And when I've heard they've been talking to each other all offseason. Isn't it kind of nice how Steve has taken Trey under his wing, to use a terrible cliche?
You know that what I feel about Steve, that you never really know these people because you don't go to their house, they don't go to yours. But to the extent that I can know an athlete, I would say he's above reproach. He's really, really a great guy.
Yeah.
Everything I know about him, he's wonderful. I want to say it. He's a wonderful human being, Steve.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that Joe Montana is the greatest player in franchise history, greatest quarterback of all time. Steve's the one who is like the godfather of the current players. You know, Joe is doing his own thing, which is fine. But Steve's the one who feels like, no, this is my franchise. I need to talk to Trey, who's 22 years old. It's amazing to me.
Yes, absolutely. I want to say another thing about team building. I think I'm talking about the coach, Shanahan. Mm-hmm. I think he's a very good coach. I have my reservations in certain areas. I think in the crisis moment, he's not necessarily a good play caller, and he may blow it. I think as a representative of the team dealing with the media, he doesn't have the presence of Harbaugh, Mariucci, Seifert, Bill Walsh. But I'm going to say something. His teams play their asses off for him. I admire that so much about Shanahan. Again, I don't know him. I've never met him. I have things I'd like to know more, like I just mentioned. But even when the Niners aren't good, they really play hard.
Mhm.
You cannot say that about every team, every
No.
organization. So in terms of team building, I think he's very good at making a team.
Yes. On the other hand, in terms of team building, Kyle often is stingy with praise to the quarterback in general, in particular. And when bad things happen during the season, it sort of seems like in the press that Kyle kind of puts the quarterback under the bus, which isn't great for team building. And I thought what was interesting was you asked Kyle about Trey, and he would say certain nice things, but he wouldn't go overboard. You'd ask D'Amico Ryans about Trey, the guy who's defending him, and he would say, "We're really proud of what he's doing. He's really putting himself in position to have a terrific year." Like, that's the kind of leadership and team building that you need, and it's always coming from the defensive coordinator on this team.
Why do you think Kyle is not as enthusiastic as D'Amico?
It's Kyle's nature. I think he probably was the same way when he coached Matt Ryan. I think he's just a little negative, and he
It may
is
not be negative.
a perfectionist. Let's call it a perfectionist.
Yeah.
A perfectionist. And he's focused on how you can get to being perfect, as opposed to a defensive coordinator who's thinking more about, I got to pump this guy's ego up.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Bill Walsh was a perfectionist also, and he rarely, I'm telling you, he rarely praised. And I do want to, I think I might have told this one time when in 1992, when I was with the team and writing a book, and I obviously am a Stanford graduate. So Stanford, the university, asked me to do a video about, I think, the English department in Stanford athletics. And Bill called when the video was ready, he called all his coaches together in the coaches meeting room, and they brought in a projector and they showed my video praising them and praising Stanford, which I love. And when it was over, he put on the lights and we just moved on. He never said a word to me.
Wow.
So I experienced it. You know, even if I sucked, and I don't think I did, but even if I sucked, thanks, Lowell. Thank you so much for taking the time. I didn't get paid for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just turned on the lights and moved on. So I understood the feeling.
That was his style of teaching. Well, that's over with.
It was a little deflating.
Yeah, I could see it. All right, let's answer some questions. Kev F says, why did Kyle go for it so much on fourth down with Trey? Does that show Kyle's ultimate confidence in Trey? And will we see a lot more of that this year? He did. I don't know. I felt like Kyle was sort of figuring out how he wanted to call plays with Trey. Maybe that was sort of it. It was diagnostic. It wasn't that successful, if I remember correctly. Max Power says, Lola's such a loving dad. Grant is so lucky. Agreed. Thanks, Max.
I love my son. In fact, we're having dinner together tonight. I already have some nice wine picked out. I'm going to their new house for dinner, and we're going to watch the Warriors game together.
That's right. 49ers Daddy says, since Trey Lance completed 2 deep ball passes back-to-back, can we retire 1-play Trey and prompt him to at least 2-play Trey? Sure. Some guy on television called him 1-play Trey. He said that's why they call him 1-play Trey. Who calls him 1-play Trey? Anyway.
Maybe Pat McAfee.
So there was a lot of team building at this OTA and minicamp. There was no George Kittle practicing, though.
Hold on. Before we get to Kittle, because I got a lot to say about Kittle. The one other thing that we should note, and I don't know what it amounts to, they could have had a third day of practice, and they called it off. And they traditionally do call it off. You pointed out in the video earlier this week, Harbaugh did as well. Yeah. So what Kyle did is nothing out of the ordinary, and I'm sure part of it is he wants the players to rally around him. Right. We work hard. We do our work. He rewards us. I got it. I got it. So, but I do want to point out, Iggy, I'm not incorrect. Compared to when I would cover the team in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, they have less time with players now than they used to.
Yeah, no more double days. That's over. Remember
I'm sorry?
No more 2-a-day practices.
Yeah, right. And there used to be 2 days. So you could make a case they really need that third day because they don't have, meaning coaches, don't have that much access to players. I'm not criticizing Kyle, but I would like to know, again, I don't go to the press conferences, what is the benefit of not having the third day as opposed to the advantage of not having it? And I think that's a question.
They also canceled the third week of OTAs. You're supposed to have 3 weeks of OTAs and minicamp. They canceled the third week and moved up minicamp. And I think my best guess is what they're doing is you're at a deficit anyway with the new rules. You don't have enough time anyway with the new rules. And what they try to do is condense all this work into 90 minutes and people get hurt. So I think what they're trying to do is just minimize injuries. The healthiest team will win. Even the product in the NFL is so degraded these days because there's no practice time. So it's like, oh well, let's just be healthy and see what happens.
You raise a good point, and then we can move on to Kittle. The NFL is a really exciting league. It's the only sport really that I'm that into anymore. And yet I do agree it's degraded. It's not what it used to be. It's like an old man saying that, but you agree as well, right?
I mean, the first month of the season is tough to watch because none of the teams are ready. So there's a lot of mistakes. I mean, there's a lot of sacks, there's a lot of turnovers, it's like the season starts in mid-October. That's when the teams are finally ready to go.